The year is 2024. The Arab Spring, a distant memory, has given way to a long winter of discontent. In Syria, a nation ravaged by years of brutal civil war, the regime of Bashar al-Assad teeters on the brink of collapse. Rebels, a motley mix of factions united in their opposition to Assad's iron-fisted rule, close in on Damascus. The city, once a symbol of Assad's power, now trembles under the weight of their advance. Amidst the chaos and carnage, whispers of Assad's impending escape begin to circulate. Rumors turn to reports, and soon, the world watches as the Syrian president vanishes from public view. His destination, Russia, the embattled regime's most powerful ally. The news sends shockwaves across the globe. For some, it is a desperate act of self-preservation, a last-ditch effort to escape the consequences of his brutal crackdown on dissent. For others, it is a strategic retreat, a move calculated to buy time and regroup. Whatever the reason, one thing is clear: Assad's flight marks a turning point in the Syrian conflict, one with far-reaching implications for the region and the world. As darkness falls over Damascus, the city that has seen countless nights of turmoil and unrest, a convoy of vehicles snakes its way through the deserted streets. The silence is almost eerie, broken only by the hum of engines and the occasional distant sound of conflict. Inside one of them sits Bashar al-Assad, his face drawn and pale, his eyes betraying a mixture of fear and defiance. He gazes out the window, perhaps reflecting on the city he is leaving behind. He is leaving behind the city of his birth, the seat of his family's decades-long rule. The minarets and ancient buildings stand as silent witnesses to the history that has unfolded here. The journey is fraught with danger. Every turn of the road could bring an unexpected threat, and the darkness only adds to the sense of foreboding. Rebels control much of the surrounding countryside, and the threat of ambush is constant. The countryside, once peaceful, is now a battleground. Assad's security detail, hand-picked and fiercely loyal, is on high alert. They are trained to expect the unexpected, their senses heightened by the ever-present danger. They know that their lives and the life of their leader depend on their vigilance. Every shadow, every movement is scrutinized with intense focus. The convoy travels under cover of darkness, its route a closely guarded secret. The night provides a cloak of anonymity, but also a shroud of uncertainty. Assad's destination is Latakia, a coastal city in northwestern Syria and the heartland of his Alawite sect. The city offers a semblance of safety, a stronghold amidst the chaos. Latakia is a stronghold of the regime, heavily fortified and defended by loyalist forces. The military presence is palpable, a stark contrast to the vulnerability of the journey. It is also home to Russia's Hmeimim airbase, a strategically vital facility from which Moscow projects its military might in the region. The alliance with Russia is a crucial lifeline for Assad. For Assad, Latakia represents a lifeline, a sanctuary from the storm raging around him. The coastal city, with its strategic importance, offers a glimmer of hope. The journey is long and arduous, punctuated by the distant rumble of artillery fire and the unsettling silence of abandoned villages. Each mile is a reminder of the conflict that has torn the country apart. Assad, accustomed to the trappings of power, now travels in secrecy and fear, his fate hanging precariously in the balance. The weight of uncertainty presses heavily upon him. Every mile that separates him from Damascus brings him closer to Latakia, but also to the realization that his grip on power is slipping away. The journey is not just a physical one, but a metaphor for the tenuous hold he has on his future. The roar of jet engines shatters the early morning calm, a powerful reminder of the military might that resides here. As Assad's convoy approaches the Hmeimim airbase, a fortress of strategic importance in the Syrian conflict. Located just south of Latakia, Hmeimim is a symbol of Russia's unwavering support for the Assad regime. This base has become a linchpin in the complex geopolitical chess game being played out in the region. Since 2015, it has served as a launching pad for countless airstrikes against rebel positions, a relentless campaign that has reshaped the battlefield in Syria. This base stands as a testament to Moscow's determination to prop up its embattled ally, showcasing the extent of Russian military involvement in the region. For Assad, Hmeimim represents more than just a military base. It is a sanctuary, a fortress where he hopes to find refuge from the chaos engulfing his country. The base's defensive structures and secure perimeter offer a semblance of safety in an otherwise volatile landscape. The base is a hive of activity, with Russian soldiers and technicians working around the clock to maintain a steady stream of sorties against rebel targets. The constant hum of machinery and the disciplined movements of personnel underscore the high stakes involved. The arrival of Assad, however, is an event of a different order. It is a moment that underscores the gravity of the situation in Syria, highlighting the extent to which the regime's grip on power has weakened. It signifies the gravity of the situation in Syria, the extent to which the regime's grip on power has weakened. The presence of high-ranking officials and the heightened security measures reflect the precariousness of Assad's position. Russian officials, tight-lipped and professional, greet Assad with a mixture of deference and thinly veiled concern. They are acutely aware that their country's reputation and strategic interests are closely tied to Assad's survival. They know that their country has wagered a great deal on Assad's survival, and his presence at Hmeimim is a stark reminder of the stakes involved. The strategic meetings and discussions that follow are charged with a sense of urgency and determination. Inside the base, Assad is given a secure compound, a small island of relative calm in a sea of turmoil. This compound is heavily guarded, reflecting the high level of threat that still looms over the Syrian leader. He is joined by his closest advisors, men who have been with him through years of war and bloodshed. These advisors are not just military strategists, but also trusted confidants who have shared in the regime's trials and tribulations. They are exhausted, their faces etched with the strain of endless conflict. The toll of the war is evident in their weary expressions and the heavy burden they carry. Yet, they continue to project an air of confidence, at least in public. This facade of strength is crucial for maintaining morale and the semblance of control amidst the chaos. To do otherwise would be to admit defeat, and that is something they are not yet prepared to do. The resolve in their eyes and the determination in their actions speak volumes about their commitment to their cause. Section 4. The Financial Trail, unveiling the transactions between Damascus and Moscow. This section delves deep into the intricate financial maneuvers that have taken place between the Syrian government and Russia, revealing a complex web of transactions that have significant geopolitical implications. As Assad settles into his temporary quarters at Hmeimim, news of his escape sends shockwaves through the international community. The Hmeimim airbase, a symbol of Russian military might in Syria, becomes the focal point of international scrutiny. Western governments, long critical of Assad's brutal crackdown on dissent, condemn his flight as a sign of desperation. The international media is abuzz with speculation, and political leaders are quick to voice their disapproval. They call for his immediate resignation, insisting that he has lost all legitimacy and that his continued presence in power will only prolong the suffering of the Syrian people. The streets of major cities around the world see protests, with demonstrators demanding justice for the Syrian people. Human rights organizations echo these calls, accusing Assad of war crimes and crimes against humanity. These organizations, armed with evidence and testimonies, push for international tribunals to hold Assad accountable. Amidst the diplomatic uproar, a different kind of revelation emerges, one that sheds light on the close ties between the Assad regime and its Russian benefactors. Diplomatic channels buzz with activity as nations grapple with the implications of these revelations. The Financial Times, citing leaked banking records and anonymous sources, reports that the Syrian government has transferred hundreds of millions of dollars to Russia in recent years. These transactions, shrouded in secrecy, paint a picture of a regime desperate to secure its survival. The transfers, according to the report, were made through a complex web of shell companies and offshore accounts, designed to evade international sanctions. This elaborate financial network highlights the lengths to which the Assad regime has gone to sustain its power. The timing of the transfers, coinciding with the intensification of the Syrian conflict and the surge in Russian military support for Assad, raises troubling questions. Analysts suggest that these funds may have been used to finance military operations, further entrenching the conflict. Critics accuse Assad of looting his own country's coffers while millions of Syrians are displaced and living in poverty. The stark contrast between the regime's financial dealings and the dire humanitarian situation on the ground is a source of outrage. They argue that the money, instead of being used to fund the regime's war effort, should have been spent on humanitarian aid and reconstruction efforts. The international community calls for greater transparency and accountability, urging that resources be directed towards alleviating the suffering of the Syrian people and rebuilding the war-torn nation. Section 5. The West reacts. Skepticism and condemnation greet Assad's claims. From Washington to London to Paris, Western capitals erupt in a chorus of condemnation and disbelief. Assad's assertion that his departure from Damascus was a tactical necessity, a temporary measure taken to ensure his ability to continue governing, is met with scorn and derision. Spokespersons for various governments denounce his claims as self-serving propaganda, designed to mask his loss of control and his desperate clinging to power. The United States, long at the forefront of efforts to isolate and pressure the Assad regime, leads the charge. The State Department issues a strongly worded statement, accusing Assad of abandoning his people and reiterating its call for him to step down immediately. Senior officials, speaking on condition of anonymity, go further, suggesting that Assad's flight to Russia is an admission of defeat and that his days in power are numbered. The European Union, deeply divided over how to handle the Syrian crisis, nonetheless manages to issue a joint statement expressing grave concern over Assad's actions and calling for a peaceful transition of power in Syria. Individual member states, however, vary in their responses, reflecting the complex web of political and economic interests at play.